The Young and the Restless spoilers for the upcoming 2 weeks, March 24th to April 4th, indicate that Billy Abbott will engage in a covert power play. Sharon Newman will reveal Alan Loran, and Traci Abbott will endure a devastating setback. Victor Newman will disclose his competitive history with Aristotle Dumas to Michael Baldwin during the week of March 24th to 28th. He intends to lure his former adversary out of concealment with a deception. Devon Winters and Lily Winters will be utilized to Victor's advantage in order to facilitate that ambush. However, Devon may harbor reservations regarding Victor's forthcoming presentation. Of course, Victor won't realize Aristotle already has an audacious move in progress. The fact that Aristotle will contact Billy implies that the two are involved in a covert partnership that will soon result in pandemonium. Before she is compelled to converse with Sharon, she will collapse in Nick Newman's embrace after her breakup with Phyllis Summers. Sharon and Phyllis are the sole individuals who have experienced the terror of captivity. Consequently, they will convene to deliberate on their ordeal and establish the new ground rules for their relationship. Kyle Abbott and Claire Newman will violate certain regulations. It turns out Claire and Kyle will show off their troublemaker side together, so Summer Newman may feel left out of the action. Next, Jack Abbott will have a disagreement with Nikki Newman, so that could involve some clashing over Victor Newman's sneaky plans for Jabot or his interference regarding Kyle's romance. Diane Jenkins Abbott will present an act. That could be a subtle ruse in anticipation of the Abbott mansion's renovation, or a gesture of goodwill toward an adversary. Back with Billy, he'll disclose to Phyllis in a strategy session, so that may bring some talk about his alliance with Aristotle. Sally Spectra will back Billy into a corner later and press for honesty, so she may have a hunch he's keeping risky secrets. Will Sally be able to persuade Billy to acknowledge that he is still seeking retribution against the Newmans? At Crimson Lights, Sharon will supply some info to Traci related to her captive ordeal at Havenhurst. It'll help Traci make the necessary connections and realize Alan, alias Martin, must be the kidnapping culprit. Traci will have an emotional reaction as she realizes Alan may not be the man she believed he was. It seems Traci will eventually settle on the notion that Alan might actually be his twin brother if Martin lived. Traci will offer Jack updates on the theory and leave him terrified for her safety. If Traci still intends on meeting up with Alan in Paris, Jack may worry she'll be walking into danger. Will Jack insist on going with Traci and helping her turn the tables on Alan with a new scheme? Will Jack contend that they have to leave this to the authorities instead? Chancellor may get proof that points to Alan purchasing the remote-controlled device from the hardware store. The same device that was ultimately found in Sharon and Phyllis's captivity room at Havenhurst. Of course, we should point out that Ashley Abbott could be at risk since she's in Paris right now, and that's presumably where Alan is headed. Back with Victor, he'll have a big announcement to make, so he's going to impart some news that surprises his family members. This could connect in with Victor's prediction about bringing Aristotle out into the open. During the week of March 31st to April 4th, Victor's plot will ramp up while Chelsea Lawson and Adam Newman continue to enjoy their romantic reunion. However, trouble could be imminent once Adam gets involved in all the Aristotle mayhem and feuds with Billy once again. If Adam takes things too far, it could cause some issues in his relationship with Cheslea. There may be more Martin shockers as well once Traci figures out her next move, so YNR fans will be anxious to see how it all goes down. Finally, Phyllis will keep relying on Billy as she throws herself into work. It may help Phyllis recover, but it'll also cause concerns and even some growing jealousy for Sally. The Young and the Restless spoilers say the next 2 weeks will bring plenty of intrigue, so stay tuned. The Young and the Restless spoilers for Monday, March 24th, 2025 are in. In the next episode, fans can anticipate Victor Newman to set a trap behind enemy lines. Nick Newman comforts Phyllis Summers. Meanwhile, Billy Abbott gets crystal plain with Sally Spectra. Keep reading, and let's speak about what is coming up in the CBS soap opera. Phyllis Summers traumatized. On Monday, March 24th, fans can anticipate Phyllis to continue to be traumatized by her kidnapping experience. It's also conceivable that the poison had some weird long-term side effects on her. In any case, Phyllis is stressing out at every turn. For the most part, it seems that Phyllis is turning to Billy. Red went to him once again needing this task. While he left her off the press release, he said he couldn't do the enterprise without her. Then the two shared an embrace. Nick Newman's comfort. There is one instance in the next episode where Phyllis doesn't get solace from Billy, but someone else. It turns out that it's Nick. Fans also know that Nick recently rejected Sharon Newman's romantic reunion request. So, with Nick comforting Phyllis, could this reignite the jealousy in Sharon? While these two women will always be enemies, the kidnapping was intended to change their dynamic a bit. They might never be friends, but being civil would be great. When Nick offers his solace, will this reignite Phyllis's feelings for him? Sally's spectra set straight. The young and the restless spoilers reveal that Billy will need to set Sally right. With Billy and Phyllis being so close, and spending a lot of time together, Sally could get the wrong impression. The interior decorator / fashion designer could see them embracing, or spending a lot of time together. That could make Sally question if she's about to get betrayed again, just as she did with Adam Newman. However, Billy will set the record straight. Sally might accept his answer, but she had that gut sense about Adam and Chelsea Lawson too. So Sally would be prudent to continue listening to her instincts. Victor Newman's trap. It is also stated that Victor sets an ambush behind enemy lines. In a preview clip, Victor affirms to Michael Baldwin that he has a history with Aristotle Dumas. Just who is the enigmatic man, and what is his connection with Victor? Traci announces her commitment to an apprehensive Jack. Traci astonished Diane and Jack at the Genoa City Athletic Club with news that she and Alan were getting married. She wanted to borrow the company jet so they could wed in Paris. Traci picked up on Jack's apprehension. Traci said Paris was the most enchanting city in the world. Who wouldn't want to get married in Paris? Diane asked. Jack felt it was being hurried. Traci says Alan is so anxious to sweep her away. It's impetuous, Jack says. After all, Alan just proposed a few hours ago. Traci told Jack and Diane that Alan had to dash off. He'd been dealing with security issues. Jack was intrigued, so Traci gently told Jack he was being a little dramatic. Jack noted that he'd never seen Traci this pleased. Why the sudden concern? Traci wondered. She told Jack that Alan did not capture her heart. She gave it to him. Jack feared Traci would get married to Alan without her family. Traci says no, that won't happen. Alan had no family, and he wanted all the Abbotts present. Traci hoped that Jack would walk her down the aisle. Diane said that Traci probably didn't want to speak about her ex-husbands after Jack brought up their late father, John, walking her down the aisle at other weddings. Traci said Jack reminded her of John. Kyle then showed up and Diane wondered if Phyllis faked her own kidnapping in view of the fact that she had done that once before. Kyle informed them that Phyllis and Sharon were unharmed following their ordeal. Ironically, Traci said she hoped that they capture whoever was responsible. Traci described what little she knew about the alerts and the breaches that Alan had been receiving. She mentioned a facility. That's some coincidence, Kyle said, sharing that Summer said something about Phyllis and Sharon being detained at a clinic. The idea of Alan being connected to the clinic was dismissed, and more talk of the wedding continued. Maybe Harrison could be the ring bearer? Diane mentioned redecorating to the Newman household, but Jack had cold feet about changes. The festive dinner is interrupted by Alan calling. Kyle noted how Traci had given her emotions to the family. Diane said they'll have to share that heart with Alan. Traci told them that Alan called from the airport. He was going to Paris alone, and Traci would join him in a few days. Traci says Alan needs time, and he's preparing a surprise. Well, this fellow is full of surprises, isn't he? Jack asked. At Crimson Lights, Sharon brought Nick a scone and Yorkshire tea on the house, but promised her that it wasn't an inducement. It was a suggestion. Nick wondered if Sharon wanted Nick to accompany her, and Faith to see Noah in Europe. Nick said it was never a good moment to be away from Newman Enterprises. Sharon playfully said they have Wi-Fi in Europe. Nick stressed that Sharon requires time with Noah. He recapped Sharon and Phyllis being abducted by a psycho. Besides, Faith needed her mama. Sharon said what kept her going was her daughters needing her. Nick told Sharon she had been so strong. She needed to let her daughters be there for her. She needed time to heal, and promised to keep an eye on things till she came back. Sharon told Nick he may know her better than she knew herself. It won't be the same without you there though. Sharon lamented about going abroad without Nick. After all I've gone through, it would mean so much to me. Nick asked Sharon to be honest with him, and pondered if she ever thought about them. You and me. Sharon wondered. Nick said he knew he could be clueless sometimes, but he sensed there was something there. Have I gotten lonely sometimes? Sure, Sharon said. Do I miss what we had? When it was good, of course. Sharon, in turn, asked Nick if he'd ever thought about her again. Of course I've thought about it, Nick acknowledged. But he said he knew he'd harmed her. She knew she'd wounded him too. Sharon said she can readily forgive Nick as he's forgiven her for things. You are my best friend, Sharon confessed. Nick said he appreciated where he and Sharon were at the moment. He'd always be there for her no matter what. That was never going to alter. Sharon confessed that she missed Noah, and was looking forward to spending time with him. Nick shrugged off his not going by joking he'd be this helicopter parent, complaining about the rain. But he agreed to give it some more thought. Summer also showed up at Crimson Lights, and was pleased she ran into Nick. She was concerned about Phyllis, because the whole kidnapping ordeal hit her hard. Sharon suggested Phyllis might need to see a specialist. Summer asked Nick to go with her to check on Phyllis. Nick told Sharon he promised to think about what they talked about. Sharon said if there's anything she can do, let her know. At the ranch, Adam was talking to his editor, telling him to make a story about Billy's new media company and opinion piece opposite the editorial page, since they didn't have multiple sources to go with what Adam believed to be true. He was astonished when Chelsea appeared. Chelsea took Adam's outerwear, and turned on some romantic music. She was there for vengeance. Adam thought she meant something bad by that. She had also cooked something for him. Chelsea said the meal Adam made for her was one of the greatest meals of her life. Over a goblet of wine, Chelsea told Adam it was never too late. Adam said he saw a couple in their 80s, and they were holding hands. Chelsea theorized they met when they were young, and are living blissfully ever after. Adam offered that it could have been a couple that had problems, but they eventually got it right. Chelsea told Adam she's very content where they are. Chelsea removed lids from her and Adam's entrees. This almost looks too beautiful to eat, Adam said as he dug into quiche Lorraine. Romance requires mystery. Chelsea responded after Adam told her she had to reveal how she made this. Adam said this was one of the finest meals he'd ever had. He said Connor was at the main residence with Johnny, and they'd be gaming all night. Adam asked why it went from being simple to hard to talk to Chelsea. Maybe we're nervous? Chelsea asked. We don't have to be perfect, we can be messy, Adam told Chelsea. Next, Chelsea unveiled a chocolate confection for Adam. She wished to try again. She fed him a slice of cake on a fork. This is the best cake that I have ever had, Adam said. Adam announced that the dinner was perfectly acceptable, as she wiped frosting off his face. Thank you so much. That's very kind of you, he said. Then, he playfully placed frosting on her nose. Adam told Chelsea to just go with her intuition. He went in for a kiss and Chelsea responded. The action shifted to the bedroom where Chelsea said she was eager to make some happy memories. When Amelia Heinle tried out for The Young and the Restless, she knew that if she was cast, she'd have large shoes to fill. The previous Victoria Newman was Heather Tom, and she'd won 2 Emmys for her portrayal of Victor and Nikki's willful daughter. There's no way I could have played the character the way she played it, the veteran of Loving, The City and All My Children told Soap Opera Digest in 2020. They wanted this strong character, and ultimately, I found my own strength. It may not have looked like Heather's, but it was mine. And oh, did the audience take to it. Once Heinle was led to the front burner as Victoria, she never departed. Instead, she was shifted from one hot plot to another, from the boardroom to the boudoir and back again. So undeniable is Heinle's shine in the role that Victoria's romance with Billy Abbott survived, and thrived even after he was recast. So it's no wonder that the actress is as closely associated with her Genoa city alter persona, as Eric Braeden is to his mustache. This is like a legacy for me almost, she told Digest. If anyone Googles me one day, they'll be like, oh yeah, she was on Young and Restless. Billy's secret power play. Sharon exposes Alan. Traci's crushing blow. The sun sank below the horizon, casting long shadows across the sprawling estate of the Newman family. Inside the opulent mansion, the air was dense with tension. Billy Abbott, ever the schemer, sat in his dimly illuminated study, his fingers drumming rhythmically on the polished mahogany desk. His mind raced with calculations, each thought a fragment of a larger puzzle he was determined to solve. Billy had always been a man of ambition, but this time, his plans were more audacious than ever. He was orchestrating a secret power move, one that would shake the foundations of Genoa City's elite. Billy's target was none other than Alan, a mysterious figure who had recently emerged as a key actor in the city's corporate landscape. Alan's sudden rise to prominence had raised eyebrows, and Billy was persuaded that there was more to the man than met the eye. He had spent weeks accumulating information, piecing together fragments of evidence that hinted at a hidden agenda. But Billy wasn't the only one distrustful of Alan. Sharon Collins, ever perceptive and fiercely protective of her loved ones, had also been keeping a close watch on the enigmatic newcomer. Sharon had always been a woman of intuition, and her instincts told her that Alan was not who he purported to be. She had seen the way he interacted with Traci Abbott, Billy's sister, and it had set off alarm sirens in her mind. Traci, kind-hearted and trusting, had fallen deeply for Alan, oblivious to the storm brewing around her. Sharon knew she had to act before Traci's heart was shattered, but exposing Alan would require meticulous planning. She couldn't afford to make a miscalculation, not when the stakes were so high. Meanwhile, Traci was blithely unaware of the machinations surrounding her. She had always been the emotional anchor of the Abbott family, the one who brought tenderness and compassion to their often tumultuous lives. Her relationship with Alan had been a source of joy, a rare bright spot in a world rife with chaos. But little did she know that her contentment was built on a foundation of lies, and the truth would soon come crashing down around her. Billy's secret power play. Billy's plan was as daring as it was perilous. He had uncovered that Alan was secretly funneling funds from Newman Enterprises into offshore accounts, a scheme that could bring down the entire company if it were exposed. But Billy wasn't interested in rescuing Newman Enterprises. He had his own agenda. He saw an opportunity to leverage the information to his advantage, using it as a bargaining chip to secure a position of authority within the company. It was a risky decision, but Billy thrived on risk. He had already begun planting seeds of doubt among the board members, discreetly suggesting that Alan's sudden rise was too good to be true. His next step was to confront Alan directly, but he needed to time it precisely. If he acted too soon, Alan might slip through his fingertips. If he waited too long, the damage to Newman Enterprises could be irreversible. Billy's mind was a maelstrom of strategy and deception, each move calculated to bring him closer to his goal. But Billy wasn't the only one playing a hazardous game. Sharon had been quietly gathering her own evidence, determined to expose Alan before he could cause any more damage. She had enlisted the assistance of Nick Newman, whose connections and resources gave her access to information she couldn't have obtained on her own. Together, they had uncovered a trail of deceit that led directly to Alan's doorstep. Sharon exposes Alan. The day of reckoning arrived sooner than anyone anticipated. Sharon had arranged a meeting at the Abbott estate, inviting Traci, Billy, and a few other key players under the guise of a family gathering. Alan, unaware of the trap that had been set for him, arrived with his customary charm and confidence. But as the evening progressed, the atmosphere grew increasingly fraught. Sharon waited for the perfect opportunity to strike. When the conversation turned to Alan's recent business dealings, she nonchalantly dropped a bombshell. "Alan," she said, her voice calm but firm, "I couldn't help but notice some irregularities in your financial records. Care to explain?" Alan's smile faltered, but he soon recovered. "I'm not sure what you're referring to, Sharon," he replied smoothly. "My records are perfectly in order." Sharon wasn't about to let him off the hook. She pulled out a folder and deposited it on the table, her eyes never leaving his. "Then perhaps you can explain these transactions," she said, opening the folder to disclose a series of documents that detailed Alan's illicit activities. The room fell silent as everyone processed what they were seeing. Traci, who had been sitting beside Alan, stared at him in disbelief. "Alan, what is this?" she asked, her voice trembling. Alan's facade disintegrated. He attempted to deny the accusations, but the evidence was overwhelming. As the truth came to light, it became clear that Alan had been using Traci to obtain access to the Abbott family's resources, all while plotting to undermine Newman Enterprises from within. Traci's crushing blow. For Traci, the revelation was devastating. She had trusted Alan, believed in him, and even envisaged a future with him. To discover that it had all been a lie was a crushing setback. She felt betrayed, not just by Alan but by her own judgment. How could she have been so blind? Billy, ever the opportunist, seized the opportunity to further his own agenda. This is exactly why we need to take action, he declared, addressing the room. Alan's actions have put Newman Enterprises at risk, and we can't afford to let him get away with it. But Sharon wasn't about to let Billy commandeer the situation. This isn't just about Newman Enterprises, she interjected. This is about Traci. She's the one who's been wounded the most, and we need to be there for her. The room erupted into a heated debate, with everyone weighing in on what should be done next. Amid the chaos, Traci quietly slipped away, unable to bear the weight of her heartbreak. She discovered herself standing on the balcony, staring out at the city lights as tears streamed down her face. Sharon followed her, placing a consoling hand on her shoulder. "I'm so sorry, Traci," she said gently. "I never wanted to hurt you, but I couldn't let Alan continue to deceive you." Traci nodded, though the anguish in her eyes was unmistakable. "I know," she murmured. I thought he was different."